Hi friends, Allison here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing something slightly different. I still have a design process and scrapbook layout process for you, but the design process that I'm sharing is actually reworking a design that I had previously created, and when I came back to it, discovered I didn't like it. So I'm showing you today how I'm editing it to make it something that I like better. If you don't want to stick around for the design process, feel free to skip ahead to the scrapbook process. Otherwise, stick around here and see how I changed the original design. So when the video started, you saw the original that I had, and I decided that instead of having all three pictures, two with a portrait orientation and then one with the landscape, I took the landscape photo out and just kept the two portrait photos. And I kept the embellishing with the trees and the clouds, but I'm reworking it so that instead of kites and such a oversized large title, I'm going to add phrases that I hear from my kids when I tell them it's time to leave the water slides here in town at our local Rotary Park. And so they are going to basically sandwich the photos and the embellishing in the middle. I'm using different fonts to create all of the phrases that my kids say to me. I don't actually cut any of these phrases either, except for one, and that's the word find that I'm working on right now, because I don't have stamps that are in a script font, so I cut that one. I also cut the title, which is every single time. I capsed that and made it span the width of the layout, and then below that are going to be some more phrases that my kids say to me when it's time to leave. And like their typical kid phrases like, "Aw, and I don't want to go. Can I go one more time?" Things like that. It does get old. If you're a parent, you understand hearing your kids whine every time you say that it is time to leave. But looking back on it, it's actually a good memory to document. So that is what I'm doing today. I stamped the rest of the phrases instead of cutting them. So really the only things that are going to end up being cut with this layout today are the trees, the clouds, and the title, basically. Once I have this design finished, after I've reworked it, I'm actually creating it today as well. So the scrapbook process that you're going to see is actually creating this page that I edited today, which is kind of exciting. I've wanted to do this for a little while, and I finally found the reason or an excuse to do it. I do have one other layout that I created around the same time as this one originally that I don't like either, and I'm still kind of brainstorming ideas for editing that one. So I think I will create another video that is the same as this one for the next layout that I'm still trying to figure out. I did decide with some of the phrases that my kids say to me that I was going to change the color of them. So there's going to be one that's green up at the top of the page, and then at the bottom of the page there will be one that's blue. Otherwise the rest of them will be stamped in black. And I did toy with making every phrase a different color to fit the color scheme that is already in this layout, but I didn't quite like that too much. I just decided I would keep the colorful phrases to one or two just to kind of highlight some of them, the ones that I hear a little more often than others, maybe. I did include the date, which is to the right-hand side of the layout beside the right-hand photo. And here is the completed layout after I cut and stamped everything. I'm just going to adhere a white cardstock piece of paper that's been trimmed down to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4, and I'm going to mat that to fern green cardstock base. Here's the 2 photos that I'm using, and to help me keep everything straight, I went ahead and used a straight edge ruler to mark 6 inches the middle of the layout, and then where the photos were going to sit. If you notice, there was a huge gap between putting the layout base together and then where I'm at right now. I got stamping and discovered that it was completely off center, and that didn't really sit very well with me. And then when I got to adhering the title, that wasn't straight either. It was too far over to one side of the layout, and I couldn't get the spacing right, and it quite honestly irritated the heck out of me. So I ripped the first go apart. I kept the fern base, but I took the white off, the white cardstock. I took the photos, the trees, and the clouds off, threw it out, and then marked everything out with a pencil and ruler so that I could keep everything straight. And so here, now I've caught you back up to where I'm at in creating this layout. So as you can see, most of the phrases that my kids say are stamped. They are finely centered, and there's some green at the top. There'll be some blue at the bottom. I decided after I got the green heart stamped at the very bottom of the layout, because I didn't have enough room for one more phrase. So I just left it as it was and decided to leave a heart to kind of keep the top and the bottom even. With that green heart, I kind of felt like there needed to be some blue at the top of the page just to keep the entire thing balanced. So there's blue and green in every third of the layout, the top, the middle, and the bottom. I also ended up losing the little tittle that goes over the eye in fine. So I looked for some enamel dots and discovered that I didn't have any of the small black enamel dots left. Those ones that I have are just a little bit too big. So to fix that, I took my black journaling pen and drew it in myself. And quite honestly, in the pictures, it's hardly even noticeable that part of it is pen and the rest is paper. I also discovered this layout needed a little bit of journaling to help complete the story. With just the title and the phrases, it didn't totally make sense. And if somebody was looking at the page, down the road, they wouldn't necessarily make the correlation between the phrases and my title. So I wrote my journaling on some white cardstock. I trimmed it down into strips. They are by no means straight, but I tried my hardest. And I'm going to glue them to the picture, mostly on the right side, but it will overlap the left photo as well so that it kind of ties everything together. And with that, this layout is complete. I'm so happy that I reworked this layout and edited it and made it what it is, because I think the story that I told in this project was way better than my original idea. Here are the close-ups. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this layout inspired you, and I hope to see you again on my channel very soon. Take care, guys. Bye.